Yeah, so I started as a community health worker actually at the county, Multnomah County, and then as a community health nurse, and mostly with our Spanish-speaking communities here in Multnomah County, and became interested in lactation because we were mostly providing services, home visiting services for our Latina moms and parents and their young ones, during pregnancy and preparing them for childbirth and then into early infancy. And a lot of the times in the training, just hearing about breastfeeding and what a marvelous thing that is for humans, for the human body to do and to provide for infants, was just fascinating to me. And we had very little of that in nursing school when I went. And so I thought, oh, I just feel like I need to know a little bit more about lactation and how to support, when things don't go quite as planned. And because certainly we're fortunate that our communities, that our culture values breastfeeding, values motherhood, and supports and honors that role that we play in our society. Unfortunately, in society, this doesn't quite mesh with that. And so while moms do initiate breastfeeding in the Latino culture, we just don't get the right support to continue, and our breastfeeding rates drop off after 6 months. And so I started to look at, why is that, and why are we not supporting this amazing provision that we have for our future generations? And like sitting in as a guest in people's homes, and after they've had their baby, and just marveling at how well the baby would nurse at the breast, and mom would be wearing a hat, and I would ask, it's summertime, are you cold? And she would say, no, I have to cover my head so that my milk doesn't get cold. And I'd say, okay, tell me more. And and then remembering that my own mom would wear cotton balls in her ears, to try to keep her milk production up, and how my grandmother would prepare her different teas and herbal remedies to help with her milk lactation, with her milk production and lactation, and using a lot of cinnamon and other herbs, and remembering the cabbage leaves too. Sometimes moms would say, come in, I can't get up because I have my cabbage on. And I thought, what? And would walk in and, and sit down and say, oh, tell me about that. And they'd say, well, I feel like it's too much. I'm trying to feed this baby, and she's not having it right now. And so I have to make sure my supply is up. And so I have to boil the cabbage, and sometimes I would walk into a home and mom would say, oh, can you bring me that atole, or that oatmeal that I prepared, that my mom prepared. She left it there on the table for me, and I'm nursing my baby. And I was just happy to oblige and happy to learn. And that was just my fascination with human body and what it's capable of. And like you said, and watching our Latino peers and colleagues enter the workforce, and supporting them with a culturally specific program called Empezando con Salud. And one of the things I advocated for in our funding was funding for lactation, and being able to give back to our community by empowering our colleagues, our home visitors, to pursue their lactation certification. And so I was so proud that two of my colleagues, nurse colleagues, were studied with Dixie and completed their lactation courses at PSU, and then sat for the exam. And I thought, what, couple more people of color in the lactation profession. It was just the most proud I've been of that. And And then after that, I found myself back as a community health nurse in our Black African American community with healthy birth initiatives. And I thought, well, here we have an opportunity to really look at the racial health disparities in breastfeeding in our beloved African American community. It's my turn. I want to pursue this lactation certification as well, and bring others up with me. And so I started the lactation course with Dixie as well, and we we had the unfortunate experience of COVID. COVID hit the pandemic right in the middle of our course, and having to adjust and adapt, really does prepare us for adaptation when we're working with moms about how to support and how to continue to learn together, because we had to, quickly readjust and be on our virtual platform, and we had already been, so most of us were familiar with the platform, and it was just a time of a really huge learning curve to have to do that. And I did have to take a break. So I did get diagnosed with an illness. I had cancer, and they had to take it out, and so I took a break. And this was fortunately after I had completed the courses, and I was supposed to be studying for the exam, but I couldn't quite get myself to do that, and had to really work on my healing and recovery. And in about a year after I had planned to sit for the exam, I was able to sit for the exam a year ago, September, and was able to get the results just right at Christmas time. I thought, oh, will I not know until the new year, or will I get an early Christmas present? And sure enough, I did get an early Christmas present, and found out that I passed the exam, and was very proud of that, because I know my family was very supportive. It was a lot of sacrificing of watching them go, canoeing or kayaking, and me sitting at the picnic bench with my lactation books and things like that whole summer. And but wherever we went, we were together, and they knew Mom has to study, and she's going to bring her books, and we have to make room for that. So lots of sacrifices, but it was well worth it. I think part of being in this profession is that advocacy piece, and advocating for people of color to come up and join the ranks, and as well as supporting those pursuing this certification, and then the advocacy for all communities of color, and bringing up those breastfeeding rates, and being able to use our voice, to use this profession to elevate legislature that supports moms and breastfeeding and chest feeding people and birthing people, that we know that this is part of what we need to do to secure and thrive as future generations. And I'm just so proud that I'm able to be part of this profession, and even now in my new role, now I find myself in WIC as a interim nutrition programs manager, and so it's just been an amazing journey in lactation, and continuing to learn and continuing to advocate. We had a formula shortage crisis in this country, and we just had to ramp up those efforts to support lactation and support breastfeeding. And okay, you're partially breastfeeding, we can get you to do a little bit more breastfeeding, and not have to rely so much on formula while we have this shortage. And doing all that advocacy for our participants has really meant a lot, to be a part of this profession, and to continue to grow the workforce and its diversity. It's definitely something I'm continuing to work on as part of my goal.